have to practice in the Middle District of Alabama to know how I feel at this time. Rather than say something praiseworthy about Judge Frank M. Johnson, Jr., I'd almost rather say nothing. Because when you would go into his court next time you'd have a case, George Wallace would have a better shake. You say, lawyers are always told to avoid not only evil, but the appearance of evil. And I think that lawyers who have been in this court know that this judge certainly avoids every opportunity that anybody would say that he would be partial towards anybody or any case. The words that are on the plaque that I'd like to present to Judge Frank Johnson this morning state in effect that the person who has effectively supported the U.S. Constitution and protection and guarantees of the Bill of Rights. Now, if this was a meeting of the John Birch Society or possibly the American Legion Auxiliary, this award could easily be given to a person that you might say was extremely conservative, maybe even the gentleman that I mentioned a moment ago. Because what is effectively supporting the U.S. Constitution and the protection and guarantees of the Bill of Rights? I'd like to think that our group had no axe to grind in presenting an award. And possibly after receiving this award, Judge Johnson will then recuse himself from sitting on any more cases involving civil rights. Then we've defeated completely the purpose of giving this award. This award is not a reward to Judge Johnson or to any future recipient for interpreting the Constitution in any liberal way or in any way that our group would feel that the Constitution should be interpreted. I feel more that it's an honor that we would pay to an attorney, to an individual, in this case to Judge Johnson, for interpreting the Constitution in the spirit of the founders of the Constitution. I don't think it would pay to take the time, because you have a biographical sketch of the activities of Judge Johnson before you, to go down case by case and tell you the many cases that he has interpreted the Constitution in before. You're probably familiar with the bus boycott decision in Montgomery. The recent death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. emphasizes this particular case, in which Judge Johnson readily grasped the Brown versus Board decision, the decision for integrating the schools, and applied this, transposed the logic in this decision to the bus situation. And it's this touch, I like to call it the Johnsonian touch, of transposing or taking a particular legal bit of logic and transposing it to another case and not waiting till Justice Douglas's group decides that it's the law and then interpreting it. And I'm sure this would be the safe course to take, and one that a federal district judge could take without being criticized. Probably of the more recent decisions of Judge Johnson, one that I feel if some of the ACLU lawyers or somebody will get on the ball and appeal it, is the property tax court case, this property tax decision. I understand that Judge, I haven't read the decision, I understand that Judge Johnson wrote a dissent in the case, stating that the unfair property tax assessments in various counties in Alabama is, in his opinion, unconstitutional. This will be an interesting case. Personal pleasure, myself, to present this award, and with even more honor on the part of the Alabama Civil Liberties Union, to present to Judge Frank M. Johnson the first annual Constitutional Law Award of the Alabama Civil Liberties Union. Judge Johnson, I'd like to give you this on behalf of the...
Chairman Smith, Mr. Justice Douglas, Judge Walter Ewing, members of the organization, and guests. I was relieved to learn a few moments ago that I could say anything that I wanted to, as long as I didn't use over 30 seconds in doing it. I was relieved since I did not come prepared to speak. I felt that it would be utter presumptuousness to attempt to make a speech preceding the speech that you are to hear from one of the finest judicial speakers in America. I knew that it would be utter disaster to attempt to make a speech after he had concluded. I jotted down what my reaction to this award was before I came, and I thought that it was so appropriate I wanted to share it with you myself in. Justice Holmes summed it up better than I in replying to a letter he received from Rosika Swimmer. It had to do with the case of the United States against Swimmer, where Justice Holmes dissented. He and Rosika Swimmer became friends and corresponded considerably, and this personal correspondence now is in the treasure room in the Harvard Law School Library. Part of it reflects that after he dissented in favor of Swimmer in this lawsuit, she wrote him a letter telling him what a great judge she thought he was, what a fine jurist that she knew he was, and what insight he had to what the law should be, and the other members of the court didn't know. Justice Holmes replied, if a judge's decision is of a kind to deserve thanks, he would not be doing his duty. If his decision reflects only an honest and good faith discharge of his duty, he deserves no thanks. Holmes added, after which protestation, I must add that, of course, I'm gratified by your more than kind expression, and that I thank you.
Mr. Lucas, Judge Johnson, and friends, I made this trip for several reasons. I won't give them in the order necessarily their importance, but Mrs. Douglas had never seen Alabama, and I knew that Alabama at this time of year was a beauty spot of the world, and I wanted to see it. Unfortunately, she was sick and couldn't come. She'd picked out a pretty new spring suit, so she would be on good display. She sends her regrets. I'd heard about the award to Judge Johnson. I wanted to be on hand to participate in it and to express my behalf and my brother and the great regard we have for the great spirit of the independent judiciary that Judge Johnson represents. And I also wanted to come to share in your American Civil Liberties Union program.